that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Candice, today is what you call the first step. What's the second step, and is there a timeline for the second step?
So, thank you for saying that. I think that's really important, that today was meant to articulate very high-level priorities. So I've tried to be consistent about that it was simply to come out with big bucket items. So we do have some enabling actions, some action steps that are a bit fluid that we're working towards, that we will then publicize. So, our thought is that this is going to be a living document that people will be able to get on a website and see everything that we're doing. And along the way, we will publicize. So I think I really, really did want to stress for the last 3 weeks, and especially today, first step. So I think a lot of people may be thinking of this as the end of a journey, and like I told our staff today, this is just the beginning. So now, we've relied on the consultants to really help us with peer information and all the survey data and the interviews, but now, they helped us distill the themes. Now it's about actually putting things into motion. I would say in terms of a timeline, that is like an everyday living thing. So you're gonna start to see teased out very, very soon. I have tried to be clear from the beginning that I want to be an effective communicator and I want to be transparent. And so an important part of that, and I think we've been criticized for that in the past, we being Vanderbilt Athletics, I think it's really important that we've done our due diligence and that we're very clear when we put something out. So we're going to put out things that we are going to do. And so the idea behind a strategy too, right? This wasn't an action plan today, it was a strategy. It increases accountability both internally and externally. That's what we want. It allows us internally to speak with a specific language, to hold one another accountable. If nothing else, I thought talking about the strategy today was critically important for our staff. So nothing revolutionary there, right? Like, we're an athletics department. We're a Power 5 athletics department, and we're working on the things that most, if not all, athletics departments are working on. But it's important for us to distill it into buckets that everybody who's associated with us can speak to. And then in turn, we can hold each other accountable. And in turn, Commodore Nation can hold us accountable. I know that that's really important. So I'm excited. First step of many, many more to come.
You talked about being transparent. Can you be a little more transparent on the financing? There were rumors of donor matches, things like that. Do you offer that as a school? How far along are you on a capital campaign? I know your boss was working on that. Where are you in terms of securing financing? Will the university match gifts?
So I appreciate your question. And to me, the transparent piece is as soon as we are ready to be public about something and provide full details, we will. And so around the finances, I will do that at the appropriate time.
So have you guys raised anything at this point? Have you raised?
We are always raising money. So
okay,
Chris, I do understand your question, but what's really important is that I'm not going to get out ahead of what is a very, very, a very specifically timed plan that we have to roll out things relative to these priorities. And as you know, financial performance is one of those things. I will speak about that at what I feel is the appropriate time. I won't speak in detail about that today. Again, today was really meant first step to talk about big buckets. I hear that everybody, so I've gotten some emails today and I've responded to every single one where people have said, hey, but we want to see actions behind words. Well, today was always going to be words because it was a strategy. Now the action begins, and I do want Commodore Nation to hold us to that. And so that information is to come.
The master facilities plan, I guess, what does that look like right now? Like, how specific is it right now, and is that going to be made public when it's finished?
Oh, it will definitely be made public. So that's going to be a phased facility approach, and right now we're well underway with phase 1. I don't want to get in front of, because there again, it's really important to me that we've done our due diligence and that all logistics are finalized and we are ready to come forward with something that we are ready to execute. And so I'm really excited about what is to come. And I think you all know that when we started the strategic plan, that was always overarching. The master facility plan uses a different firm. We're using a different firm for that process, and we started that process later than we started the strategic plan process. So I would say that when we worked with, we first met with Perkins and Will, we set out a very aggressive timeline. I'm happy to report that they are meeting the time frame, so we're right on track where we wanted to be. And as soon as we can, we'll talk about what that first phase is. That's why in the press release, it was really important for us to state There is a master facility plan underway. It is going to meet some critical needs. I don't know if it's been referred to, I'm not sure if Malcolm referred to it before, but we refer to it as an enabling phase because it really is going to be foundational to setting all of our sports up for success. There are some targeted investments in that. And again, I won't go into specifics until it's time, but I look forward to doing that very soon.
Is the strategic plan now what it was when Malcolm left? Was there much changed after he left to the language of it or the anything about it?
Yeah, great question. It's essentially the same plan. So at the point that Malcolm departed, we were finalizing the feedback that we were receiving. We spoke to the board about it, and the board certainly had opportunity, as they should, to provide input, both for the big bucket items and then some of those enabling actions. But yes, I mean, it's the same. It is virtually the same plan that Malcolm and I worked together on during his time here.
The statement referenced research, focus groups, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Was all the information you gathered from that used to create the plan today? And if not, if it all wasn't included, why not?
So was all the information from
Yeah, I mean,
the,
this focus group's telling you you want to win games. I mean, you know.
yeah, let me make sure I understand your question.
It referenced research and focus groups. How
Correct.
much of that was actually in the strategic plan we saw today?
So it informed the strategic plan, and then it will also inform those enabling actions that we'll use. Like when we start talking about the action steps in each of the areas, it informed that too. So we used all the feedback that we got.
Candice, in the past, I've heard many times announcements with plans, stadium tours, trying to build things. Is that the difference now, maybe the fact that Vanderbilt's not going to be announcing something until you're ready to actually take steps to make it happen fairly quickly?
You know, I understand what you're saying. I think some of that question, though, is informed by what people's previous experience or interpretations are. I can really just talk to you guys about the last 3.5 weeks. And in the 3.5 weeks, I've said what we're going to do. And it's really important to me that I'm transparent about how we're going to do it. We are going to do things once we have done all of the, we're not going to be premature, but we're going to work very diligently. And as soon as we have the details in place needed to move forward, not only will we go public about it, but you can rest assured that we're taking the necessary steps to do it. I can appreciate that people want to see action, as do we. We being the collective Vanderbilt University about the athletics department. We all want to see action, and so all good action plans start with a strategy.
I know
Today you saw the strategy.
Sorry.
No.
I know you said when the time is right, but
Right.
do you have some type of timetable to say we want to do this in 3 months, 6 months, a year, or is it just open-ended to be?
Yeah, no, it's not open-ended. You know, I think I've said consistently that the strategic sort of roadmap is going to cover 5 years. We've talked the master facility plan will, of course, certainly phase 1 will be in that time frame, but a precursor to phase 1 of the facility plan is the upgrade to the football locker room, which we mentioned today in the press release. And we said in there that time frame was we want that complete by the start of the season. So that's a bit of an aggressive time frame, but you saw that announcement because we feel comfortable making that announcement knowing that we've done a lot of legwork to prepare for that. So I think from me, as long as I sit in this role, I think what you're going to find is that we will be providing information when we are ready to execute. And I just think that that's really important. You know, I understand you don't change a narrative overnight. You know, I think you change it with consistent information and action. That's all I'm trying to do.
Two
Did
things.
you feel like it was important, even with that, to go ahead and release this today? You know, given that there were some things the university wasn't comfortable saying yet.
Well, I would say maybe I would just push back a little bit that I'm not saying not comfortable saying. I'm saying that there's a cadence and a plan to what we're doing. So everything that we're doing is strategized. This is part of a strategy. I would say that I thought it was important to get the big buckets out as soon as possible. You know, I understand that there's always going to be remarks or regardless of what you do, but we were always planning to release at this time. We were always planning to talk about what our strategy was in February. So that never changed.
You have donors who are frustrated with the lack of a bigger picture, with things that predated you, with the fact that the school has not laid anything out. I know they've told me they're resistant to give, because I've talked to some of them. You have that?
Say that last part.
I know that some of them are resistant to give because I've spoken to them.
Okay.
Until the bigger strategy is laid out.
Okay.
How do you do that? And also, your development office has been very territorial when people have tried to solicit donations for sports in the past. How much are your athletics people allowed to go after university donors? How much
Yes.
pushback do they get?
So great questions, and I understand that people's interpretations of the past, or perhaps what people have overheard, or history is informing the questions. I think your first question was about big picture. I absolutely understand people who say that we may be waiting to give until we understand what we're giving to.
Okay.
I've said before, my husband and I don't give without a vision either to the things that we support. So I welcome that, I understand it, and I think it's my job to articulate that vision so that people know what they're giving to and what they're supporting. So I'm okay with that. That is a clear expectation, and that's something that we're gonna meet. So I understand that. In terms of the fundraising and what I can say is, again, in 3.5 weeks, I've had some great conversations with donors, with the DAR, which is the umbrella unit that oversees the National Commodore Club. We have already been in front of donors, and I have not seen that resistance. So I hear what you're saying, but that hasn't been my experience. And so, you know, I'm not being flippant about what people's experiences have been. I can tell you that it was very important to me from the very beginning that there was wholesale support. I understand that this was an interim role and it's been 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's important to me, it always was important to me that we would continue with the momentum that we've had. Nothing has changed there. I do understand the questions because we are in transition, but nothing has changed. I respect the narratives that people may have from before. I said to our staff today, we had a department-wide staff meeting, and I said, every interaction, every opportunity that you have with people is a chance to change the narrative. I can't change history even if I wanted to, or how people perceive that. You can hold me accountable to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I look forward to that. So I appreciate why you're asking.
So
Go ahead.
for the fans that are
Sure.
at home that will see these videos and hear these stories, can we consider this a promise from Vanderbilt University and the athletic department that these things are going to happen, that this is not just smoke and mirrors that evaporate in a year,
Listen,
or
I
2 years,
understand
or
why
5
you're
years,
asking,
and then we're back in the same spot?
Yeah, no, I understand that. I hear that narrative. I've heard that. I can tell you from Candice Lee what I am assuring. So I hope that people will take what I say from an integrity standpoint as a promise. I've always been one to do what I said I was going to do. And so I want to be known as that. And it's not just me, it's Vanderbilt University. We're talking about today, Vanderbilt University, and us saying that we will do what we say we're gonna do. And I understand it's not just words, you wanna see action. Well, me too. That's exactly what we're planning on. That's exactly what I expect we will do.
Like
I
we're
may-
announced today, is there another project that might be announced within this year? Is there another project that's that close to being able to possibly be announced this year?
I expect that there will be several things that are going to be announced. We are planning on that. You know, I talked with our staff today about, as you saw, one of the pillars is stakeholder engagement. And some of that, right, we have a lot of touch points, obviously. You have to think about how to navigate to get things done. We have a lot of people that we answer to that we're satisfying, right? But this is a means to an end, right? So we do you take care of business in a certain way to execute the plan that you're committed to. And we are committed to this plan. And I hear it. I am so grateful and so appreciative of everybody's passion about this, because you got high expectations of Vanderbilt athletics, as do I. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate it because our kids deserve that passion. Our coaches deserve that. Our staff deserves that. Absolutely. And so, my integrity, I will always keep that intact. If you know anything about me, I'm a stand-up person. So I wouldn't get in front of you if I didn't mean it. And that's why I don't shy away from the questions. I think I've answered everybody I can. Direct message on Twitter. I think I've answered every email. I'll happily have a conversation with anybody because I believe in what we're doing. And I want you to hold me and us accountable to it.
What's the price tag on the football locker room renovation?
It's we anticipate that it will be under $5 million.
Would you have liked to have more specifics in that today?
Would I have liked
Like
it?
to have been able to have more specifics in there, I guess would be the way to say it.
Well, you know, I think the whole time just thinking about that the time frame was February and we were gonna stay committed to that. I always was comfortable with knowing what our sort of 5 buckets were. I was always comfortable with that. I would say aside from that, knew this was gonna be a fluid living document and there's all kinds of actions. What's really important though is that we make sure that, so you have the consultants which help you provide the framework, but then we're going to depend on people in our department and people in the institution to really execute these actions. So it's really important that we work very hard on that. And so I didn't think it was worth sacrificing time, waiting 2 more months or 1 more month while everybody says, where's the plan, where's the plan? When it's, again, the plan is a strategy. It's a high level strategy. So I was totally very, very comfortable with us coming out with that strategy because it's consistent with what I said it was going to be from the very beginning.
There are things that you can't answer, plans to be laid out, and that's understandable, but when is it that we know what it is that you're being held accountable for? In other words, there's a lot of things you can't tell us right now. You say you'll be accountable. I guess it's hard to know what will you be held accountable for? When will we know what that will look like?
I understand, but I always said today was the first step, Chris, so I
Okay.
appreciate the question, but today is a first step. By design, today is meant to be high level. Today is meant to be high level. So I understand that's not satisfying to you, but what I can say is that as I continue working, we'll get information out as we feel it's appropriate, and then you can hold us accountable to the information that comes out. I appreciate the time.